Yes, good morning. Am I audible? There will be little delay because of the YouTube thing, but it would be good if you respond so that I know whether I'm audible to you or not. Gayatri, good morning. Yes. Okay, Spike Thomas Jerry Butch. So good morning to the offline people also. Vaishali, right? Okay. So good morning Siddharth. As you would be already knowing, this is a kind of booster course, crash course, whatever you want to name it, but we have actually named it as booster course. Now, obviously for the philosophy optional, okay, and today is our first lecture. As you would already know, we are straight away starting with the lecture number 1. Number 2, this is exclusively for Mains 2024. So, the basic assumption that automatically goes with this is the basics of philosophy optional is you are done with. So, it should not be the case that I am required to explain the very basic, because it is not a foundation class. And another thing, most important is the class would be heavily focused on, or kind of the guiding principle for the class would be PYQs, because the ultimate aim of this particular class is to prepare yourself for the exam proper, that is Mains 2024, right. So, you would be already had the timetable as to how we are going to go with, mostly 2 philosophers per day kind of thing we are going to cover. So, very basic, as I would again say, very basic things would not be covered. Now, what is let's start with the purpose of this particular class as to why we came up with. Now, all of you, those who are having philosophy as optional, 3 most important things. Obviously, what is the basic expectation that you have? You know, if you see rhetorically, 300 plus in philosophy. Very simply put. Obviously, the main purpose is to get into the list, but basic purpose for this particular class is 300 plus in philosophy. How to get it? Now, for philosophy optional, there are 3 most important things without which it's very difficult to get there. Number 1, conceptual clarity. Okay. Second is revision, and third is answer writing. Again, let me reiterate that my focus would be and should be on exam. It's about marks. This particular course is about marks, right? So these are the 3 things. Now, this aspect is expected to be already covered at least fairly. those who have gone through themselves, those who have gone through the foundation classes, whatever it is. Fairly, if obviously there will be enrichment here, there will be comparative understanding and everything, but ultimately basically the requirement is this is fairly done. So obviously the next step is, this is second step, this is what our focus would be, and third would be followed by answer writing. Now when I say answer writing for the examination, always read it as PYQ writing or PYQ answer writing. What does that mean? When I say answer writing, never consider test series as answer writing. Test series is rehearsal for the examination, which includes so many other aspects like time management, space management, and the thought flow management in that 3 hours, which is very, very crucial, because this happens with many, that their conceptual clarity is very good. However, when it comes to writing that answer in 150 words becomes a problem. What to write, how to start, suddenly what to conclude with and all that. Are you with me? I have not yet started the topic obviously, but are you able to understand as to what is the purpose, and why I am explaining this is, you should know as to how to take the benefit of this course. Because if you come with the expectation that all my small doubts will be cleared, obviously in personal mentoring followed by this, I generally give whatever time required for you for the doubt clearing. However, in the class it will be basic framework through which you revisit that topic, because I am sure all of you would have given prelims this just now and expecting the positive results. Let us not discuss about good, bad and all, but let us expect the positive result, right? And in the context of that result, you should be ready on the day when result comes, at least with optional 70-80% at least, if not 100%, so that the moment result comes, it will be, because it is expected to be on somewhere around 10th of July or maybe 8 to 12 July, whatever timing UPSC decides to do it, right? So the main focus is exam, and in the class revision and answer writing. We will be actually discussing PYQs as to how this question should be answered, what should be the introduction, how should be the bifurcation of the answer, what are the topics or subheadings that the answer should have, to make it more easy for someone who has not done practice. Obviously, if you practice yourself, everything will be smoother. Without answer writing practice, you can be very good in philosophy, but the specific UPSC philosophy is different than, or I would not say very different, but it is addition to what your knowledge is. So this is not sufficient condition, but it is a necessary condition. This is not sufficient for this UPSC, okay. So considering that aspect in mind, we are coming up with this course also, and this is more like a facilitation course. That is, like we are trying to, just imagine we are trying to cover all the topics in 20 lectures, around 20, 21, whatever, one lectures here and there, 20 lectures, which otherwise takes not less than 100 lectures to cover, point by point. That is foundation, okay. Any doubt here, any wrong expectation that you have? Okay. So how many of you have started reading philosophy after the prelims? As you already know, the lecture that I conduct are always in the nature of interaction. So you cannot, even if you are sleeping, you have to answer something that I am asking. I will not let you sleep, right, Abhishek? Yes. How many of you have started? Gayatri, yes, started. Very good. Others, how many of you have started reading started revising philosophy? You need to respond, online folks also, you need to respond, because I will be taking note of who is listening, who is not listening, who is on the track. Because see, you need to understand one thing, this obviously my own experience and the experience of the many students so many years, this has been seen that students generally tend to delay their preparation till the result, and they actually lose the advantage that they should have before the result comes. And the biggest instrument, I would say safest, easiest, most logical instrument to put your effort into before result is optional. And in our case philosophy is all the more, because philosophy is basically, your marks of philosophy basically stands on, very firmly stands on your revision. Okay? Yes. So most of you have started. Very good. Now we will also start. Okay? Any doubt till now as to how this program is going to go? Any doubt? If you have, please ask. Okay? So first topic is right, Charvaka. Okay. Now you would already know, though the UPSC syllabus says Charvaka as the first topic, those who have gone through philosophy, they know Charvaka never comes first. Why did I say this? Why do I say this? That Charvaka doesn't come first in the sequence. And this we have always discussed, especially those who have gone through the foundation. Why do I say this? That Charvaka always, or Charvaka never comes first in the sequence when it comes to philosophy, Indian philosophy. Abhishek, क्यों बोल रहे हैं? You would know why I am saying that Charvaka never comes first in the sequence of Indian philosophy. This is very important to understand the whole taste of Charvaka, whole, so I would say, tone of Charvaka. Those who have gone through would understand what I am talking about. Yes. What is the nature of Charvaka's philosophy? Okay, that is the content of it, materialism. Okay. Yes, spike. It criticized all and made them look on the ground. So basically Charvaka's philosophy is reaction to Indian other schools of philosophy. So whatever Charvaka says, it is always is in the form of response to some of the schools or all of the schools, whatever. Yes or no? In that context, Charvaka are compelled to have their own philosophy later on. They have to explain their metaphysics, but if you see deeply, whatever they have, can it be called metaphysics at all? Whatever Charvaka says, can it be strictly called metaphysics? It's very simple, it is empiricism, or for that matter it is close to modern science, not with same rigor, but they will not have any metaphysical entity. They reject metaphysics altogether, yes or no? So how can they have metaphysics? Though we take the word metaphysics when it comes to Charvaka also in a very broad sense as to their theory of reality, whatever they think is real. But whatever their metaphysics is nothing but physics. Yes or no? Charvaka's metaphysics nothing but physics. Only material things exist. So where is meta of physics? Nothing. It's all physics, right? And yes, their criticism, their all philosophy, a whole system that they have developed, they have developed in the response of so-called, according to them, dogmatic, spiritualistic, metaphysical schools, right? And we are studying it first. ideally what should happen? Syllabus, Charvaka should come after all the basic, because when we say Indian philosophy in general, do Charvaka comes first in our mind? No. What comes to our mind first? Vedanta, Buddhism, Jainism, and obviously other schools, Nyaya, Vaisesik, Indian philosophy. Yes, Charvaka is like response to it. No, 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 we don't agree, like this. We don't agree, we have this philosophy. Yes. But just imagine, can Charvaka exist without any other philosophy? Yes, so at least Sankhya has to come first with Satkaryavad, where Charvaka will criticize. See, when we say Vedanta per se, it is just an interpretation of what Upanishads are already saying. It's not a new thing. Thoughts are similar in a different way. But if you see the basic tone of Charvaka, if there is no, see, otherwise people are living their life. Whatever Charvaka says, if you see, is what we know without learning any book. You know, whatever is you see is what it is. You know, Yavat jivet sukham jivet, rudam krutva kritam pibet. Okay, जब तक you know till the time you are alive, जब तक जीवित हैं, relax, enjoy, and जितना हो सके enjoy your life. The thought process, the philosophies starts after you question this process itself. Is life, is death everything? Is this life everything? Is earning and eating and drinking and sleeping is everything? Then only philosophy starts, right? Otherwise everybody knows. जो दिखता है वही है और एंजॉय करना प्रिंसिपल है. Getting my point? Obviously they developed their own arguments in a very sophisticated form. That's why it looks like philosophy. It is philosophy. Obviously it is part of our syllabus. Okay, that's why when Charvaka says, what is the basic, very basic thought of Charvaka, if you say in one line, yeah, apart from Yavat jivet sukham jivet, what Charvaka starts off with? What is the primary thought of Charvaka? Exactly. Perception is the only pramana. Why Charvaka had to say this? Only pramana. Whom they are talking to? They are talking to some others who considers other than perception also as pramana. Otherwise, why would Charvaka say that? They would say perception is praman. They said perception is the only praman, means all other sources of knowledge that you are talking about is not pramana. So somebody already started talking about pramana. You know, there is anuman also, there is shabd also, okay, there is then arthapatti, anuplabdhi and all other things that you know. So Charvaka says no, only perception is praman. Whatever you are talking about is not praman. I will prove to you. That is the reason. That's the basic thought. Very correct. So again, let's come. You know, whenever we get a realization, we have to come back to the exam. So whenever question of Charvaka comes, most of the time, or almost all of the times, your answer would always starts with this particular statement. That is, perception is the only praman and material is the only reality, or matter is the only reality. And that's all. That's Charvaka philosophy. If at all you want to add third point, that is about ethics of Charvaka, because first is epistemology, second is metaphysics, third is ethics, that is yavat jivet sukham jivet. Hedonism. Material enjoyment is the only purpose of life. Okay. When we talk about purpose of life in the context of Indian philosophy, what is the term? I talk like Charvaka is saying materialism, material enjoyment is the only purpose of life. What is the term for this term that I used, purpose of life? Purusharthas, right? How many Purusharthas, Abhishek? Purusharthas, if you, because this is prelims also. You might have studied in your prelims also, because it's art and culture prelims topic also. Yes. Purusharthas, 4. Dharma, Artha, Kam, Moksha. Very good. What is the Charvaka biggest enemy of among these 4? Very good, Spike. Yes, the moksha is the biggest thing that they want to just destroy. Artha and Kam, they agree, because they know without resources there is no enjoyment. And there are some literature which says some Charvak also agree to some kind of dharma also. Susikshit Charvak and Dhurt Charvak. So Susikshit Charvak agree that there is dharma also. It's basically, it's called secular laws, if you see. Now here meaning of word secular as Western secular, not Indian secular. Secular means non-religious laws, public laws. Follow them and enjoy your life. And Dhurt Charvak say there is no law, forget about all these things, just do whatever you think is giving more happiness to you. Yes. Now let me ask you on a lighter note, what do you think is largely accepted or lived philosophy of today's youngsters? Now you might have gone through all the Indian philosophies. Do you think most of the young generation, or most of the generation I would say, follow Charvak? Yes or no? Maybe you also would be part of the same. Because when we actually see, what happens is when we study philosophy, we might be really impressed by that philosophy and the logic and the intellectual argument that it gives. But when it comes to our lived experience, most of the time we are Yavat Jivet Sukham Jivet. Little bit dharma also. Okay. Follow dharma in such a way that okay, everything is okay. Yes, American anarchist atheist. Very good. That is also another way of saying it. That is the next version of Charvakas, that American, that is, what is here American means? Consumerism. Consume as much as you want. Anarchist, obviously paper 2 also we discussed this. And atheist, you already know. Most of them, not all obviously, but again I am saying, why I am saying most of us, because we might be impressed by some philosophy, but we don't live it. We might be real fan of Shankaracharya or Buddha or Jaina, but when it comes to our life decisions, they are not based on soul, they are not based on Atma, they are not based on higher spiritual entities. That all are based on simple things that are directly impacting us materially. Yes, anyway, coming back. So Charvak, when it comes to Charvak in the context of our syllabus, how is the bifurcation of topics? Charvaka, very good. Epistemology, then metaphysics, very good. And Charvak, ethics also. When we use the word philosophy, we actually mean epistemology, metaphysics, ethics, logic and aesthetics. Some also include axiology, study of values, but that's okay, part of ethics. And what we actually study here most of the time, ethics is only generally considered in the context of Charvak, because then there is nothing else, because whatever Charvaka says, their actual repercussion is on ethics only, right? ओके, एनी डाउट? चारवाक में तो किसी को कुछ डाउट होता ही नहीं बिकॉज इट्स वेरी स्मॉल पार्ट ऑफ सिलेबस. यस, yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely. Yes, we have to. In fact, this comparative Indian Western similar thoughts, common thoughts between the two philosophies, that's exactly what they are looking for. Only condition is it should be in the context of what the question is demanding, not because we know it. If the question, I am not saying when question specifically says compare it to the Western, not that way. But whenever in the flow of answer it comes, we will discuss that because we will take the questions and try to discuss answer, but that's comparative, for sure it has to come, especially in the context of criticism, because that is also another thing. We will discuss the answer thing, how is the format of the answers expected, or most logical format or most useful format for having better marks. So yes, in the context of criticism also you need to do it. So what is Charvaka epistemology? Perception is the only valid praman. Inference then rejected. See, main contention is all about inference only. You know, all of the epistemological debate in Indian philosophy, there is not much debate in the perception world because everybody says okay, perception is there. Obviously there are some who reject perception also in that way. Who rejects perception? Okay, but there is more prominent school that we study in our syllabus, philosophy, UPSC syllabus. What is the Vedanta's take on, Advaita's take on perception? Mithya. Yes, so when it comes to going for real, see, something is mithya means whatever you see not necessarily is truth. So how can perception be? Why is the example of snake and rope? I am clearly seeing it is a snake, but it is not a snake. So how perception is valid? And you go and see, they actually reject perception in that way. They allow perception because first it's like a vyavaharik, that is practical life, not metaphysically. Their more focus is on arthapatti, because there is like the conception of Maya and Brahm. How do they come to? Anyway, we will discuss when we discuss Vedanta. Maya, the conclusion that Maya exists is based on arthapatti. Okay, we will discuss it that time. But there are schools who reject that. Anyway, so perception is the only valid praman. Basically, the other major source, that is inference, is rejected. Now, when Charvaka says perception is the only valid praman, they have to, perception is the only valid praman means they have to give justification as to why not inference, then why not shabd, why not comparison, and forget about arthapatti and all, they will anyway not accept. Now, as far as our syllabus is concerned, what automatically follows from this is their argument of rejection of inference, right? So rejection of inference means their criticism of Nyaya. That is called, that is basically rejection of inference, criticism of Nyaya. And you know the arguments, what are the inference is the basic if? Yes, rest all gets rejected. If inference is rejected, basically all the scientific, all the you know, all those things, those are based on estimation and all, you know, kind of even for that matter scientific discoveries, logical discussions, everything goes off because you are not able to see it. Like if you say I reject God, first you have to establish what God is. So if God is not there at all, that is the criticism of Charvaka. Later on we'll come to it. How Charvaka's rejection of perception, rejection of inference rejects everything. Because if what is the, you know, when I say something, because as Jainism says, their rejection of inference is nothing but they are rejecting to get into any debate then. Because debate is based on inference. The other side utters some sound, one side utters the sound, the other side infers from that sound as a meaning of it. So the whole discussion goes off, okay. Comparison is also rejected, Shabda is also rejected, okay. Now, how are they, what is their argument to reject inference? The basic of it, what is the basic of inference? Very good, Vyapti, very good, UIC, universal, invariable concomitance, very good. So, their inference of, rejection of inference depends upon rejection of Vyapti, very good. How do they reject Vyapti? What is Vyapti? Relation between that universal invariable concomitance or universal invariable relationship between Hetu and Sadhya. Very good. So, Hetu and Sadhya. Example is fire and smoke. Hetu and Sadhya, very good. हिंदी में भी तो कहावत है ना, जहां धुआं वहां पे कुछ तो गड़बड़ होगी ही, अदरवाइज धुआं कहां से आया. Exactly we say, wherever there is smoke there is, or wherever there is fire there is smoke. Which one is correct? Why? Wherever there is smoke there is fire, or wherever there is fire there is smoke? Why is not the other one right? So, the relationship between fire and smoke is conditional. It depends on the fuel to be wet. There has to be wet wood for smoke to get created. But this is very important because later on when we discuss Nyaya, these points come up as a, if we talk about it, as different intellectual interpretation, different understandings. Because wherever there is smoke there is fire is logical universal relationship. There cannot be smoke without fire, but then there can be fire without smoke, okay. So reverse is not possible. You might have seen yes, Upadhi Nirasa and Samavyapti, Asamavyapti and all that, you know, in that those we'll discuss that in Nyaya, okay. So why it is rejected? Because Vyapti cannot be established. Wherever there is smoke there is fire, mean all the cases of smoke there is fire. How do you know? You cannot even know all the cases of smoke and fire in the present day, forget about the future and the past. So according to Charvaka, you cannot have exhaustive experience of, all comprehensive experience of fire and smoke. So how can you conclude that there is, wherever there is smoke there is fire? So it's like a leap in the dark. You cannot know all the cases. By the way, the inference is directly dependent upon Vyapti, yes, and Vyapti is directly dependent upon perception of Hetu. Without perception, there is no inference. And you cannot perceive all the cases of smoke. There might be some smoke happening in Amazon jungle. Have you seen it? Is that part of your perception? No. So how do you know that smoke is there and must be with fire only? Because you cannot, yes, fallacy of illicit generalization, because you cannot generalize things. That's what their argument is, right? Then you might know Nyaya will come, and what do Nyaya say? No, you don't need to experience everything. Yes, the concept of smokeness and concept of fireness are directly linked. The very concept of smoke automatically comes from the concept of fire. You no need to have any, no need to have necessarily perception of all the cases of smoke and fire. So what do Nyaya say? I am just taking in the, because it is a flow, but that's Nyaya's argument. After this rejection, that smoke and fire, you cannot have all the cases. Nyaya say, okay, but at least we can say smokeness and fireness are related, right? Smokeness and fireness are related. That's what Nyaya say, by the way. This is Nyaya response. But that also Charvaka will disagree. Charvaka says, first of all, there is nothing called universal. You can see fire, you can see smoke, you can perceive fire, you can perceive smoke. Can you perceive smokeness? No. What you perceive is smoke. Do you perceive smokeness? No. So, this existence of universal itself cannot be established by perception. That's why they talk about, you are assuming, like for example, from where the concept of smokeness is coming? Different cases of smoke. Now, through smoke, you are saying smokeness, and from smokeness, then you are establishing smoke and fire. So, it is infinite loop, infinite regress, or petitio percipii. Okay. Yes. How Nyaya says smokeness exists. On what basis? So smokeness is, according to Nyaya, samanya, generalization of the cases of all the cases or many cases of smoke. So you are starting with perception, coming with universal, and then with the help of universal commenting upon perception. Smoke. Because smokeness and fireness are connected, every fire, individual fire must be, individual smoke must be associated with the fire. So you are starting with individual instance, coming with universal, and again proving the individual. So it is petitio percipii or infinite regress. Okay. How is comparison rejected? Inference rejected, so comparison rejected. Comparison is nothing but the other form of inference itself. They don't even give you explanation for this. Nyaya. Okay, because you see, again in the comparison, you have the conception that you compare with. This cow and that cow, for example. Okay. And here, Charvaka goes very similar to Hume. You mentioned about Hume. Like for example, how they reject comparison. Like for example, this chair and that chair is compared, and the common, resemblance is brought out, the common element. But what is this common element? First of all, there is no chair per se. The concept of chair does not exist. This individual thing exists, but concept of chair doesn't exist, because concept is a unintelligible chimera. You get the impulse of blue, you get the impulse of this and that, and you conceptualize that it is chair and then apply to all the chairs. Whereas everything that is part of your perception is a discrete thing. The connection that you are doing, as Hume says, the connection that you are doing, it is just an idea that you are having, and ideas are, yes, they are actually impressions. There is nothing called idea in that way. Ideas are not real. Ideas are unintelligible. He uses the word unintelligible chimera. So it's a chimera because a kind of mystical, problematic, unexplainable thing. What really exists is impression. You are combining the impression and deriving meaning out of it. He gives the example of cause and effect. How cause and effect also doesn't exist? The relation of cause and effect according to Hume is not there, or it is creation of your own thinking, it's not real. In the same context, that's why what you mentioned about Hume. So in this context, the context of understanding. Now in the flow of answer, if it comes, you can mention. Okay. No, not just because inference is rejected, they say that comparison is no need to be rejected with additional argument. Yes. Yes, universal. Concept is universal. Yes, because concept of cow is nothing but cowness and fireness, and they are rejecting the concept of cow and this thing. Yes, you can mention that he is criticizing Plato also. Yes, obviously Hume rejected all idealism, right? And Plato was the father of idealism. Plato is the one who came with that idea, right? Very good, Siddharth. So, but that is about Hume. You can mention Charvaka, but basically Hume criticizes Plato very much in that context. Okay. So, and how Shabda is rejected? Anyway, Shabda is also rejected, you know, because Shabda is also product of inference from the word. And another thing that they reject Shabda, this thing that they reject Shabda is the other two statements of the famous shloka of Charvaka. By the way, this shloka should be mugged up for almost all the answers of Charvaka. Which shloka? Abhishek? Whenever we say Charvaka, which shloka we talk about? 4 lines. It's there in the notes also. We have repeatedly recited it also. Yavat jivet, sukham jivet, runam krutva, घृतं पिबेत भस्मीभूतस्य देहस्य पुनरागमन कुतः त्रयो वेदस्य कर्तारो धूर्त भांड निशाचरा. This last two statement is about शब्द. तीनों वेदों के जो कर्ता है, त्रयो वेदस्य कर्तारो, कौन थे ये धूर्त, भांड एंड निशाचरा. निशाचरा मीन्स चोर, लोगों को लूटने के लिए बनाए हैं. It's a famous श्लोक of yes, you can write, but only don't write in Devanagari. Write in Sanskrit, language Sanskrit. Don't write in Devanagari. Write in Roman script. Like we have written like this, Yavat Jivet, like that. Otherwise, you don't know, somebody who is checking may not know Devanagari. Okay, so that's the reason. Otherwise, you can write it. If you want to write it, that also you write, but please at least translate immediately in English then, because somebody who doesn't know. Yes, Trayavedasya Kartaro Dhurta Bhanda Nishachara. That means the rejection of Shabda. That's why this all Veda and all Puranas and this thing, Shabda basically, and especially this religious scripture, that is not valid. And ethics is यावत जीवित सुखम जीवित, जब तक जीवित है सुख में जियो, ऋणम कृत्वा घृतम पिबेत. इसका मतलब अभिषेक बताएंगे. ऋणम कृत्वा घृतम पिबेत. हाँ बता, तभी तो पूछ रहा हूं, बिकॉज आई हैड ऑलरेडी टोल्ड, बताया था. वो बेसिकली हाँ घी से रिलेटेड है. नो, ऋणम कृत्वा घृतम पिबेत जो है उसका एक सिंपल एग्जांपल है क्रेडिट कार्ड. ठीक है, अब बताओ क्रेडिट कार्ड आज की भाषा में. हाँ, लोन लेके घी पियो. तो क्रेडिट कार्ड में वही तो करते हैं हम, पैसे होते नहीं अकाउंट में, क्रेडिट लेके खर्च करके शॉपिंग कर लेते हैं. वो एग्जैक्टली वही है. दैट्स व्हाई आई सेड दो ऑल दोज हु यूज क्रेडिट कार्ड आर चारवाकर्स. ठीक है. यस, लोन लो और ये करो. Sir, in a broad sense, Charvaka criticizing not only Vedas but rather whole civilization. You can say that way, because then ultimately it boils down to Charvaka boils down everything to senses. And if you are living your whole life according to senses, then you are nothing less than a animal. ये स्पिरिचुअल और ये सब हम इसलिए लेके आए ना, सोसाइटी शुड फंक्शन इन अ पर्टिकुलर वे, अदरवाइज व्हाई वुड वी नीड गॉड. ओके, वो सेपियन करके किताब है, पढ़ी है? हैव यू रेड द बुक सेपियन? उसमें मेंशन करते हैं वो हाउ द बिगेस्ट स्ट्रेंथ ऑफ ह्यूमन बीइंग इज टू क्रिएट imaginary ideas. The concept, it's the biggest strength of human being, that is most more than the impressionable thumb. ये जो मैं बोल रहा हूँ ये ऐसे के लिए है, ध्यान रखना. ऐसी चीजें ऐसे में लिखनी होती है, including the mention of the book Sapien. The impressionable thumb, the invention of fire, इन्वेंशन ऑफ व्हील, इनसे भी ज्यादा अगर कोई स्ट्रेंथ दिया है ह्यूमन रेस को, इज इन्वेंशन ऑफ गॉड, इन्वेंशन ऑफ फेथ, इन्वेंशन ऑफ इमेजिनरी आइडियाज. बिकॉज देयर इज दिस फेमस कोट, राइट, फेथ मूव्स माउंटेन्स. सो ऑन द विद द यूज ऑफ फेथ, ह्यूमन बीइंग हैव एक्चुअली स्ट्रेंथन देमसेल्व्स. दे हैव गॉट द tool to bring 1,000 people together. Otherwise, you know, in tribal societies, it's very difficult to be together more than 150, 200 in fighting starts. But now we are together 140 crore people. How? There is this idea of India. People have faith in idea of India, patriotism, whatever. Initially, the role was played by God or religion. So that's why the statement is good, that they basically reject whole civilization. But anyway, let's not be that negative in our papers. No need to be. Our context with respect to Charvaka should be, they saved Indian philosophy from dogmatism. ये हमेशा लिखना है conclusion में. By the way, last 2 years there was no question on Charvaka. 2022 और 23. तो इसका मतलब क्या है? 24 में पक्का आएगा. ठीक है. तो एथिक्स को तो चलो हो गया एक तरीके से. मेटाफिजिक्स क्या है उनका? मैटर इज द ओनली रियलिटी, नो कॉजेशन. Yes, this is a very famous statement. So, like Hume took Kant out of his dogmatic slumber. Charvaka took Indian philosophy from, or saved Indian philosophy from dogmatism. As it is, आप इसमें conclusion में लिख सकते हैं whenever contextual. ह्यूम ने कांत को उसकी डॉगमेटिक स्लंबर से उठाया. राउज्ड मी फ्रॉम डॉगमेटिक स्लंबर. कांट ने खुद बोला हुआ ये, वो उस समय देखेंगे ऐसे क्यों बोला उसने, वो वैसे हमने देखा हुआ है फाउंडेशन में. ओके, व्हाट इज स्वभाववाद देन? Okay, so there is no cause and effect and cause and effect. Things just happen on the basis of their own swabhava, naturalism. So naturalism, when we talk about metaphysics of Charvak, swabhavavad, what is? Yes, everything will happen according to its own nature, okay, by nature. Then what is yadrachhavad? Mechanism. See, through Swabhavavad, what are the Charvak trying to criticize? Causation. Okay, I was talking about cause and effect or causation. What are they rejecting through Yadrachhavad? No creator or concept of creator concept, or efficient cause concept. So they are rejecting the concept of efficient cause, God, creator. It's a mechanically happening thing. There is no person, there is no God monitoring it, you know, कहीं बैठ के divine intervention नहीं है. Yes, very good. There is no divine intervention. Now you realize why I am saying all their philosophy is actually in response to something. Because somebody talk about causation, they say no, it is Swabhavavad. Because somebody came up with God, they say no, it is mechanism, Yadrachhavad, right? Then they also talked about materialism, so they rejected, yes, spiritualism. So metaphysics is, basic is materialism only. So what they, here it is reject, this is reject. So what they reject is soul or spiritualism. Okay, yes, transcendence, everything, consciousness, everything is rejected. So what do they, now when the concept of then soul, individual soul, human soul came up, they rejected that and came up with Dehatmavad. Dehatmavad. That is, they reject basically soul. Now this rejection is different rejection. They said whatever the word soul is used in other literary this thing, they are actually talking about this individual human being in this flesh and blood. So soul is nothing but conscious living body. Chaitanya Vishishta Deha Atma. Chaitanya Vishishta Deha एव आत्मा, यही आत्मा है और कुछ नहीं है. चैतन्य विशिष्ट देव ही आत्मा है. नो नॉन मटेरियल सोल, एंड सोल इज this concept of epiphenomena. You can say linked with Swabhava, the concept of epiphenomena. Epiphenomenon means like the example of, now here the example of betel nut and areca nut and all other things put together becomes red tinge, which was not there before. So it's just a epiphenomena, it's not some soul that is creating. Okay. Yes, you can say accidental in a way, because if nothing is happening, see, when we say accident means nothing is happening with plan. Accident means not as per plan, it's called accident. So obviously there is no creator concept, means there is no divine plan. So there is no plan per se. Plan itself is a created concept. Everything just happens, like what Darwin said, by chance. Chimpanzee to human beings, what made chimpanzee to evolve into human beings? What did Darwin say? By chance. Just happened. Or for that matter, first, inorganic things in the world, inorganic समझते हैं जो जिसमें life नहीं है, anorganic amoeba, how that shift happened? He said by chance. Darwin himself said, उसका कोई explanation नहीं. और in that context, in fact, चारवाक expression ज़्यादा ठीक लगता है. एक पर्टिकुलर कॉम्बिनेशन में चीजें साथ में आ गई और उसमें से लाइफ एज ए एपिफेनोमेनन उभर के आ गया. सो द लाइफ सो कॉल्ड इन अमीब ऑल्सो इज लाइक रेड टिंच इन मिक्सचर ऑफ अर्कानट एंड बीटल लीफ. एक पर्टिकुलर कॉम्बिनेशन ऑटोमेटिक कॉम्बिनेशन में वो हो जाता है, दैट इज एपिफेनोमेनन. Yes, that's why no causation. Any causation is rejected. There is, see, nothing is cause, nothing is effect. It is just one after the other. Things happening randomly in a way, if you say. Right? And hedonism. What is hedonism? In hedonism, it rejects moksha, and for that matter, dharma also. Hedonism. What is the meaning of hedonism? Yes, pleasure is the highest goal. Pleasure is the only purushartha. Death is the ultimate end. Nothing remains after death. Basmi bhutasya dehasya punaragman kutah. एक बार देह भस्म हो जाए, पुनरागमन नहीं है. This is exactly opposite to, yes, what the message in Gita, भगवद गीता. क्या है मैसेज, क्या है श्लोक? वो तो फेमस है फिलोसफी के अलावा भी. Which श्लोक I am talking about? Very important again for essay, for ethics, for which श्लोक you might be knowing. Which श्लोक I am talking about? The death is not ultimate. Means what are we talking about? Okay, death is not ultimate means we are talking about punarjanma. Atma is another thing. Punarjanma. No, बुद्धिज्म में आत्मा नहीं, पुनर्जन्म है. वो अलग डिबेट करेंगे, बुद्धिज्म आएगा. Not युगे युगे, the other श्लोक. I am sure you know it, but only thing is you are not able to remember it. नैनं चिद्दन्ति शस्त्राणि, नैनं दहति पावका. नहीं पता? अरे इस नोट्स में है, पेपर 2 के नोट्स में भी है, रीबर्थ में। न चैनन क्लेदयन्त्यापो न शोषयति मारुता, नैनन छिद्यन्ति शस्त्राणि, शस्त्र से नहीं काटा जा सकता। नैनन दहति पावका, वायु से उसको ड्राई नहीं किया जा सकता, अग्नि से मारा नहीं जा सकता, तलवार से काटा नहीं जा सकता। वो कौन है? आत्मा है। तो तभी तो पुनर्जन्म है, आप अमर है। ओके, वो पेपर 2 में भी है, रिबर्थ में। एनीवे, तो डेथ इज अल्टीमेट एंड, मोक्ष इज नॉट हाईएस्ट गोल, डेथ इज द अल्टीमेट, नथिंग रिमेन्स आफ्टर डेथ। कौन सा सही लग रहा है फिर पर्सनली? ये डेथ ही ठीक है, चारवाक ना। व्हाट अबाउट अदर्स? ठीक लग रहा है? And they also reject the concept of स्वर्ग एंड नरक और हेवन और हेल। ऑब्वियसली वो तो सुपर नेचुरल एंटिटीज हैं। हमारे सिलेबस का भी पॉइंट क्या है? लॉ ऑफ कर्मा ऑल्सो वोंट फॉलो। यस, वैसे वो डेंजरस है, लॉ ऑफ कर्मा नहीं फॉलो करोगे तो कुछ भी करो फिर, देयर इज नो फॉल ऑफ एनी कर्मा। Oh, Vedanta is best for Gayatri. Okay, very good. So any doubt या क्वेश्चन देखे? अभी हो गया चारवाक? अभी जा, now the other thing is, as a extension of this course, every day whatever we are discussing here, that topic you have to go back and read from start to end the notes, our notes or your notes. Then by the end of the day you can say, for this mains I am done with Charvaka for now, one reading or 2 readings for the second reading I would say. Once result comes then you directly jump into answer writing. That's the basic purpose of this lecture. कुछ doubt है अभी? ह्यूम का क्या है? देखो, इंप्रेशन कहां से मिलता है? हाउ डू यू रिसीव इंप्रेशन? हाउ डू यू रिसीव साउंड? हाउ डू यू रिसीव लाइट? हाउ डू यू रिसीव इंप्रेशन? परसेप्शन. So impression is the only thing, means perception is the only channel to get impression. उसके बाद जो भी प्रोसेस करते हो, that's not part of real thing. Real thing is only impression. And what is the instrument to get impression into? Perception. So they are talking the same thing. Only thing is, one is talking about the effect, other is talking about the process. Perception is the process, impression is the effect. Impression is what you have, right? Perception is the process. That much you know, perception is a process of knowledge, method of knowledge, channel of knowledge. Impression is not channel of knowledge, impression is product of that process. Impression is what you have, okay? Now, first question, write down the question so that at least you can, I am not asking you to write the answer, but write out the question and think for 2 minutes, not more than that. Don't note down anything, just think for 2 minutes. Comment on the bearing of Charvaka epistemology. Comment on the bearing of Charvaka epistemology on the rejection of transcendental entities by them. ओके, ब्रैकेट में लिखो 2021 10। क्या है 10, क्या है अभिषेक? वेरी गुड। नाउ थिंक फॉर 2 minutes on whatever we have discussed. Just think, no need to write answer. If you just want to jot down as a rough work, you can. Just 2 minutes, not more than that, because इससे ज़्यादा टाइम मिलता भी नहीं सोचने के लिए. Comment on the bearing of Charvaka's epistemology on the rejection of transcendental entities by them. आप इधर बैठ जाओ अगर वो एसी ज्यादा लग रहा है तो. यू आर सिटिंग जस्ट बिलो द एसी, दैट्स व्हाई. Yes, what is the demand of the question? Okay, what is the demand of the question? Correct. Yes, very good, very correct. The context is, the basic demand of the question is his rejection is actually flowing from, dependent on, flowing through its epistemology. So basically how its epistemology led to its metaphysics. And let me tell you, 70% of the question on this topic are actually the same question in different wordings. यही question बार बार पूछ रहे हूँ. How Charvaka's epistemology leads to its metaphysics. How Charvaka's rejection of inference leads to something, same thing. How perception is the only praman leads to rejection of Akash, same thing. How perception is the only praman leads to materialism, same thing. Because rejection of transcendental entity is nothing but Charvaka's metaphysics. Soul नहीं है, God नहीं है, heaven hell नहीं है, rebirth नहीं है, वही अभी देखा हमने. All these things we just saw. Perception can't prove soul, God. Yes, basically it rejects. Okay. Now, rejection of transcendental entities, especially just a small addition to this question in the form of little details. Rejection of transcendental entities means what? Rejection of, okay, soul, God, moksha, akash, rebirth, everything. So your answer should have all these points. They are ultimately they are similar, same points, but you have to mention each point as at least one separate point. Yes, space also. So normally how do you write answer? Now this is 10 markers. So how much space do you have? Maximum 2 pages. Because this is also very important now. You have to actually write the answer for the paper, that particular given space, right? First there will be introduction. What to write in introduction will let you know. This will help you to make your answer ready for that occasion of the examination. We can discuss Charvaka for 2 hours also, but you have only 7 minutes to write. And most of the time the question actually, because if you study really well, question seems like, not a small thing, because you know so many things. So then you need to have the practice of narrow it down to the demand of the question and demand of the examination. So ideally you have space, like considering on the, like depending upon your size of the letters and all, 150 words is the limit. So on an average it goes till this. On an average, I am telling you, this is also very important. The paper awareness is also very important when it comes to, and if you have it this since day one, start and write according to that consciousness, automatically your, what it is called, maneuvering with the paper, playing with the paper becomes easy. Otherwise most of the time many people have problem where space and time, not philosophical space and time, EA space and time, they don't know how to use it judiciously. They have knowledge but they keep on writing. That is also very important. Also there will be some 1 or 2 liner conclusion. And there will be 2 sub parts of the question. Now most of the time if it is 10 markers there are 2 sub parts, if it is 15 markers there are 3 sub parts, and if it is for 20 marker there are 3 or 4 sub parts, depend upon the question. Now here, comment upon the bearing of Charvaka epistemology on the rejection of transcendental entities. How would you bifurcate the answer? Yeah, very good. Epistemology. Or you can say rejection of transcendental entities. Whatever question says, as it is, if you mention. That's all. Now introduction you know already, conclusion also you know. I'll tell you why I'm saying because whatever you said as a demand of the question is nothing but the introduction. No, this you write. No, that's why I have made it in the box like this. Now you understood? This is just indicative, no need to mention the word conclusion there. And by the way, no need to do the bracket also. This I am just giving for sake of understanding, okay? But this you have to write, obviously. And there will be just pointers. Now, so it's so easy. Now, don't you feel it's so easy to write answer, because now you know what points are there in epistemology. You write about perception, you write about how inference is rejected, you write about how like concept of knowledge as supernatural is rejected, Anuman is rejected. You can write 3 or 4 points if you want to write more points here, in the sense, because this question is more based here, you can write more points here, you can write smaller points here, like 2 or 3 points here, maybe 7 points here, depends. Depends as in once you start writing answer, you know. Like this you can write in points, yes. And in fact it is expected to write in points, if not in all the answers, but at least it helps us writing the answer and also helps the evaluators. Because you know how many points, how you have mentioned, that's all. This is the thing, UPSC, all the GS, whatever you talk about, it's very, very, I would say, bureaucratic. It's not the any humanities subject, especially the way we write answer otherwise in academics. It's very, you know, aram se, you have your own space, your time maybe. Initially there will be 60 markers, 30 markers, you know this. 4 or 5 pages you have to write the answer, one question. Now they have only 1.5 page. I mean they will give 2 pages, but 150 words means mostly it is around 150, 100 words here, 50 words here, not more than that. And by the way, if you want to write 300 words, you can write, there will be punishment. And second, you will be punishing yourself by exceeding the time limit. So you have to practice yourself in this aspect also. Yes, if required, we can, if that makes sense, do it as a part of demand of the question. But most of the times tables and all, unless it is specifically mentioned by the thinker itself, sometimes there is in the optional paper, it generally doesn't fit into, because you have to give arguments, right? Table is okay when it comes to data, but optionals there is always argument. Argument and data there is difference. Argument requires some statement. Then you can write, for example, additional point. Okay, like inference you are writing, rejection of inference you are writing, you can, now here no need to mention the whole debate between Nyaya and Charvaka, you don't have that much space, because the main focus is here, and you have to talk about soul, God, moksha, akash, rebirth, all the points here, and every statement there has to be some connection in perception, like why soul is, ultimately everything will be connected to perception, perception, perception only, but how soul is rejected, as in how there is no supernatural entity because it was never perceived. Simple. Nobody has seen soul, nobody has heard soul, nobody has felt soul, there is no soul. Like God also. Then with respect to God, these creations are by the religious priest class of that time for the exploitation. That is also their argument. Why moksha? Dharma, artha and kama and moksha. They said moksha, again nobody knows, and I have not seen any person attain the moksha according to Charvaka. There is Buddha and Mahavir and others, but forget about that. Charvaka says, हमने तो नहीं देखा है मोक्ष. So you have to mention here about dharma, earth and kam. You have to mention about akash. How, why they reject akash? What is akash? Abhishek. What is akash? आकाश तो मेरे दोस्त का नाम है सर, वो नहीं. What is आकाश? सिंपल क्वेश्चन है, ज्यादा कॉम्प्लिकेटेड नहीं पूछ रहा हूं मैं. Ether, okay. I am not asking translation, I am asking definition. Or what is it? What is Akash? Okay. Okay, I am not asking in detail. Okay, how? Okay. Anyway, leave it. That's what I just wanted to hear. It is one of the Pancha Mahabhutas. What are the other four Mahabhutas? Prithvi, Jala, Agni, Vayu, Akash. So they are okay with Prithvi, Jala, Agni, Vayu. Why? You can perceive Prithvi and the, Prithvi as in the feel of it. Prithvi, Agni, Jal and Vayu. But Akash तो कोई perceive ही नहीं होता. And जिसको हम नॉर्मली आकाश बोलते हैं कॉमन लैंग्वेज में, actually ये वैसे रिलेटेड नहीं है बट ऐसे ही बता रहा हूं। आकाश और नभ में क्या फर्क है? संस्कृत वर्ड्स आकाश और नभ। नभ तो सुना होगा, नभ संस्कृत शब्द है, नहीं पता? ठीक है, नभ शब्द नहीं है संस्कृत में, है। आकाश नीला नहीं होता, नभ नीला होता है। तो नभ इज एक्चुअली this practical life, whatever we see blue, we actually call it nabha. Akash is space or ether for that matter. जो नीला दिख रहा है वो क्या है? In everywhere the word space in philosophy is taken as space which holds everything together. Like this is also space, this is also space. Everything, the openness, the emptiness is called space. And word space for word space in English, the word in Sanskrit is akash. Normally in our colloquial language, akash is what? Blue. That is not akash. That is actually in our day-to-day language also. In Sanskrit, they never made mistake. They call akash is not sky. That's the thing. Akash is space and sky is nabha. Very good, Gayatri. Yes, we had discussed this lectures. Yes. 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 Oh, container is the best example. You perceive chair, no? How can you perceive emptiness? That's what their argument is. And second, you are, see, there is the impression of blue and red. Where is the impression of Akash? You are saying from wherever the impression is not coming, that is Akash. Perception may be that thing which does not emit any perceptible element. No sound, no touch, nothing. We call it emptiness. तो एम्प्टीनेस करके कुछ होता ही नहीं है, दैट्स व्हाट ह्यूम वुड से, बिकॉज एम्प्टीनेस का कोई इंप्रेशन नहीं होता, कंसेप्शन होता है. कैन यू सी एम्प्टीनेस? दैट्स व्हाई, बिकॉज देयर इज नो इंप्रेशन ऑफ एम्प्टीनेस. यस, सी देयर इज नथिंग इन बिटवीन. नथिंग अपने आप में कोई चीज नहीं है. That's what the Hume's argument is. But Buddhism and Vedanta will say nothing भी अपने आप में एक exist है, शून्यवाद. That's the difference. वो conception है. There, हाँ, yes, yes, yes. चार्वाका तो simple है, भाई perception जिसका है नहीं, आकाश, where is आकाश? There is chair. There is this, there is that. But where is emptiness का? How can emptiness emit any perceptible element? Tell me. Because the moment it starts emitting something perceptible, it never remains empty. अगर उसमें से कुछ भी ऐसा कण निकल रहा है जो आंखों में जाके आपको एक लाइट दे रहा है, कानों में जाके ध्वनि दे रहा है, तो वो एम्प्टी चीज है. एम्प्टी का क्या मतलब होता है? नथिंग. नथिंग मीन्स जिसका परसेप्शन भी नहीं है. वही आकाश का आर्गुमेंट. ठीक है, समझ में आ गया? हाउ वुड यू कंक्लूड? ऑलरेडी लिखा है कंक्लूजन. Yes, but now you have to little modify this particular conclusion here by rejecting the transcendental entities on the basis of its epistemology. Charvaka saved Indian philosophy from dogmatism. ठीक है? चार्वाक का यस क्रिटिसिज्म भी लिखना है 2-3 लाइन, सॉरी मैं ये वो तो एज अ मैटर ऑफ हैबिट यू शुड राइट क्रिटिसिज्म 1 और 2 लाइन्स। ऑब्वियसली क्रिटिसिज्म तो है ही कि उसका एपिस्टेमोलॉजी ही खराब है। एपिस्टेमोलॉजी खराब है उसकी, क्यों? सब बुद्धिज्म कहता है, जैनिज्म का आर्गुमेंट है। नो इतना आपके पास ये नहीं है, you don't have that much space for 10 marker. If it is about 15 marker, then maybe you can extend it. See, criticism you are writing, they are not asked in a way. Some questions they will critically evaluate that time criticism should be the major part of the answer. But like conclusion, introduction, conclusion, criticism also should be automatic part of your answer in at least paper 1, also in paper 2 and philosophy. Even if they are not asked, at least 1 or 2 points you have to write criticism. Now here you criticize, one criticism you can write about epistemology and another criticism you can write about transcendental entities, right? Okay, let us see the next question. Actually logical positivism is word used for Charvaka, not logical positivism, sorry, positivism. Logical positivism becomes then Wittgenstein वाला, अब रसेल वाला, because उस समय देखेंगे positivism means, what is positivism? Basically positivism is this, perception is the only reality. Naturalism अलग हो जाता है, positivism means जो चीज पॉजिटिवली है, जैसे एम्प्टीनेस अपने आप में कोई रियल चीज नहीं है, वही पॉजिटिविज्म है। चेयर पॉजिटिव है, चेयर नहीं होना अपने आप में कोई रियलिटी थोड़ी है, चेयर रियलिटी है। हाँ मेंशन, यस पॉजिटिविस्ट वो भी है, बट वो एम्पिरिकल पॉजिटिविस्ट है, यू कैन मेंशन, सिमिलर है दोनों। कंक्लूजन में देखो, see if you are writing some conclusion is the room that you have where you can write additional things that you know, एक दो लाइन बढ़ा भी करके भी लिख सकते हैं। they are at par with the empiricist school of, and especially neo empiricism of, not empiricism, neo empiricism, because empiricism if you talk about Locke and all, they are very different, they are still not completely out of the clutches of rationalism, they still talk about idea and all that, impression. Positivists are simple, चेयर है, ब्लू है, that's all. तो वो positivists are basically neo empiricists, they are actually called positivists, that is Moore and others, not just Moore, basically Carnap and Schlick, Carnap and what is his name, जो हमारा AJ Ayer, okay, ये तो empiricist, all the things we can perceive, okay. Now the most important takeaway from this particular exercise that we did is the formatting of answer. Very, very important that you should remember, otherwise, and that will help you in each and every question, right? Any question, and it helps you in a way if you practice this model. What happens is, any question, even if sometimes you don't know the content of it or you know very vaguely the content of it, you can still prepare some answer which is reasonably okay, even if you are not read it, because the system itself helps you. You know how to do introduction. Again, the word criticism you can mention, but word introduction and conclusion should not mention. Okay? Now there is similar question. Now you have to tell me how would you write it. No need to write the question, just it's not a different question, that's why I am not asking you to write. It is same question like this one. Are Charvakas consistent when they hold that inference is not a source of knowledge? Discuss. So this aspect is now major part of the answer. Now this will never come into picture. What are they talking about? Are Charvakas consistent when they hold that inference is not a source of knowledge. Discuss. What would you, how would you write it? Okay. Because they are asking, is it consistent? It is critical. Yes. Yes. Tell me. This is also 10 marker. Are Charvakas consistent when they hold that inference is not a source of knowledge? What would be the introduction? Okay. So, introduction would be only 1 or 2 lines. If you want to write, you can write it as another point, main point. Yes. Epistemology means she is right. She is saying Charvaka is a material school which considers that perception is the only valid source of knowledge. All other sources of knowledge which otherwise considered by valid by Indian schools of philosophy are rejected by Charvaka. That हो गया introduction. Introduction का बहुत load नहीं लेना है. Introduction has to be very simple and smooth so that your answer also automatically follows from it. Then comes question is Charvaka's कहा गया consistent rejection of inference. So और Charvaka's rejection of inference जैसे भी आपको लिखना है. And then no, are they consistent? See, you can write are they consistent, but we already know the point, that is reaction or counter by न्याय. Now अभी ये न्याय हमने किया नहीं है अभी, but you must be knowing it कि न्याय भी अपना फिर काउंटर देता है. Then यहाँ पे 2-3 आर्गुमेंट हो जाएंगे. क्रिटिसिज्म बाय नो अदर्स, बुद्धिज्म, जैनिज्म, एक लाइन. And then you can write maybe as a, but now here see the form of the question is it consistent. Now here it's like you have to tell me whether it is consistent. They are not asking is it consistent as per someone else, as per Aurobindo, as per Jaina, नहीं पूछ रहे. Is it consistent means आपको conclude करना है. Now your conclusion will be based on whatever you have written above. So you can straight away write, or for this particular question, consistent can be additional subheading if you want, where you will write the same thing, whatever you feel whether it is consistent or not. So obviously we know it is not consistent, we will conclude as not consistent. Why? Because the argument that Nyaya gives, the argument that Jaina and Buddha gives is stronger. You here in this particular question at least you cannot say no it's okay, it is consistent also but it's okay. You cannot write like that. it looks like non-consistent, inconsistent, but it is consistent its own way. No, it is not consistent. Philosophically, Charvaks are not consistent. Practically, they are very useful. Because inference only if you are rejecting, just imagine they are rejecting, that means if there is some smoke here, would you not run away? No, I will just wait for all the cases of smoke to discuss and then decide. You are not consistent. Practically also you are not consistent if you see that way. No, in this particular case it is very evident. Like there was a question of Jainism, so we will see in Jainism how scientific it is. Jainism का तत्वार्थ सूत्र और तत्वार्थ philosophy of Jainism, तत्वार्थ theory of Jainism, how scientific it is. It is not scientific because somebody scientific, logical की नहीं बात, logical है, logical is a different thing altogether. Scientific कैसे हो सकता है? Because science based on physical evidence. Where is the evidence of Jeev and Ajeev, Ashrav, Kashay? Where is the evidence? We are just, no, that also you can do if you want, but that becomes so basic, like inference is this, you can write it, no problem. See, there is no fix, like this is the only valid introduction and only valid conclusion. But you can write about inference is this, inference at that, it's a basic explanation. Inference is one of the valid sources of knowledge according to which the unperceived is concluded through perceived. Hetu, sadhya and all. But because we are talking about Charvaka's inference, you can straight away talk about overall Charvaka physics, because then we have to come to rejection of inference as early as possible. Otherwise, what will happen? You have to write epistemology of Charvaka here. Mention about how he rejects perception and how he rejects inference, like that. Because his rejection of inference is actually flows from epistemology, that is perception is the only valid source. So it's better to mention that. Okay? And then Vyapti and all that, huh? Yeah, obviously here Vyapti argument will come. Then Nyaya ka counter bhi aa jayega, smokeness and all that. Jainism criticism aa jayega, and then you write whether it is consistent. Huh? हाँ, उसका argument smokeness, fireness का आएगा. ठीक है? समझ में आया? How to tackle the answer? Are Charvakas consistent when they hold that inference is not a source of knowledge? 2019-10. तो बहुत फर्क है भाई. What is the word meaning of the word scientific? Which is based on evidence. Practical is your convenience. Practical life is all about convenience. It's not about science. Okay. Now see, the similar question had come in 2018. Just see, they have repeated the question. No need to write the question because it will be almost similar answer. Question says, is Charvaka's rejection of inference acceptable to the other schools of Indian philosophy? If not, why? Do you think the views of the other system to be justified? Give your reasons. Same question. 2018-19. So if you were writing 2019 examination, and if you are done PYQ answer writing in 2018, you know how easy it is. Same question literally. Any difference? Only thing is this point they have asked you to elaborate a little more. बहुत फायदा होता है, but करते नहीं ना. It's not easy. You sit with the PYQs and try to solve. It takes some efforts, commitment. Now see, this is the good thing about the class, that in the class or after the class you feel like, oh, it's easy, I'll do it. Answer writing करेंगे. PYQs करेंगे. It's a good thing. I'm happy to know that, okay, that because that's my purpose, to get rid of your hesitation to start writing yourself first answer. This happens with all. Ethics also I teach, no? Ethics also my after prelims. You are inspired enough to start writing yourself, because I know once you start writing, then you don't even need anybody else. You start autopilot mode पे चले जाते. Another question 2016 that they had asked, again same. What would be Charvaka's view on Vyapti? Basically his view on inference means view of Vyapti. Can this view be acceptable to Nyayikas? Give your reasons for answer. Any different question? Same thing. 2016, 18, 19. Then 2015. Explain the arguments of Charvaka for the rejection of transcendental entities. It is similar to this question. ये वाला question जो हमने किया था, right? Doubt कुछ? Then another question came in 2014. Just imagine, one after the other. Actually, only we have solved 2 questions. How many Charvaka questions are now handleable? 2014 that they have asked is, limit of knowledge and world are determined by my sense perception. Discuss the claims of Charvaka. Basically, it is the same way, other way of saying the same thing, that is, perception is the only valid praman. Limits of knowledge and world, and by the way, knowledge and world, that is epistemology and metaphysics, are determined by sense perception. यही पहला वाला क्वेश्चन ही तो है, ठीक? Any doubt? पूछ लेना. मैं this PYQs तो आपके पास होगा ही, नहीं तो मैं भेज दूंगा आपको list of PYQs. It is so easy. 2012. They had asked this question, why do Charvaka do not believe in the validity of inference? What logic do they give for their belief? Same question. Basically, why do they reject inference? On what basis they reject the inference? Yes. No. वो तो question, see, I am not going into the each question, detail of each and every question. I am saying same topic. हेडिंग क्या बनेगा, इंट्रोडक्शन क्या होगा, वो तो आपको एक इंडिविजुअल क्वेश्चन लेके यू हैव टू गो विद इट. ओके, नाउ टेक अनदर क्वेश्चन. लिख लो, यू हैव टू राइट डाउन दिस क्वेश्चन. व्हाट इज, वैसे इट इज द सेम क्वेश्चन बट इट्स इन अ डिफरेंट वे. व्हाट इज रॉन्ग अकॉर्डिंग टू चार्वाकास? Please write down what the question, what is wrong according to Charvaka with the following argument. Okay, first statement, उसके नीचे, all men are mortal. All men are mortal. Second statement, Socrates is a man. Third, therefore, comma, Socrates is mortal. Right? हो गया? So, question I am repeating, what is wrong according to Charvakas with the following argument, that is, all men are mortal, Socrates is man, therefore Socrates is mortal. Justify your answer with arguments. (2019) 15 marks. Think for 2 minutes. How would you write it? What would you write in this? Yes. Yes, very good, Gayatri. Its inference rejection of Vyapti argument should be written. Okay. We need to write about why inference is accepted in Charvaka, isn't accepted in Charvaka's philosophy. Yes. Basically, again, it's the, what is these three argument? Just indicate. All men are mortal. Socrates is a man, therefore Socrates is mortal. Yes. Yes. Generalization is not done on the basis of inference. Inference is done on the basis of generalization. Because the word generalization in Indian context is called, no, this, okay, what is this first statement which you called a generalization? All men are mortal. In our epistemological debate, what can we title it? Vyapti. All men are mortal means basically wherever there is man, they are mortal. So basically all men are mortal is Vyapti. It is correct that it is a universalization because Vyapti is universal invariable relationship. So it is universalization or illicit generalization. So basically you have to mention, you have to first indicate that it's a Vyapti. And because Vyapti cannot be established, you cannot conclude. So basically what's wrong with, according to Charvaka in following argument, the first argument itself is not valid. That is, all men are mortal itself is not valid. Yes, yes, absolute. Because, and then arguments you already know. You don't know the cases of present day, all the cases, forget about past and future, it's a leap in the dark. सेम आर्ग्यूमेंट वो सब नोट्स में मिल जाएगा. डिटेल आर्ग्यूमेंट तो ऑब्वियसली पॉइंट नहीं है अभी डिस्कस करने का, क्योंकि दिखते ही नहीं है. वही तो क्यों नहीं पता. हैव यू सीन ऑल मेन डाइंग? नहीं, तो कैसे कंक्लूड कर रहे? कल को हो सकता है अभिषेक इमॉर्टल निकले, यू नेवर नो. वी हैव दे आर कॉल्ड 9 चिरंजीवीज. उसमें विश्व में भी तो वो वाला, वो इच्छा मरण है. हनुमान है, अश्वत्थामा है, और बाकियों का नाम मुझे नहीं पता, बट उसको 8 या 9 चिरंजीवीज बोला जाता है. दे आर स्टिल अलाइव, ऐसे माना जाता है. वो माइथोलॉजी है बट माना जाता है. तो दे आर चिरंजीवीज मीन्स इमॉर्टल. सो हनुमान इज इमॉर्टल, अश्वत्थामा इज इमॉर्टल, और ऐसे और भी नाम मुझे याद नहीं. चिरंजीवी, हाँ, चिर मतलब इटर्नल. हाँ, चिरंजीव मतलब वही होता है कि भाई वो तो एक एस्पिरेशनल है ना, कि चिरंजीव मतलब इटर्नली जीने वाला, ऐसे होता है. आप इसका तो आप बताएंगे अभी, बताओ. ना ये 15 मार्कर है, ठीक है. तो यू मे नीड थर्ड पेज लिटिल बिट. वैम्पायर भी चिरंजीव है क्या? आई डोंट नो वैम्पायर कौन है, मतलब वो मूवी का है कुछ. दे आर नॉट ह्यूमंस, तो वैम्पायर इज नॉट ह्यूमन, तो वैम्पायर इज इमॉर्टल, ऐसे बोल रहा है. आई डोंट नो, वो किसी मूवी का इतना ही मुझे पता है. सेवन चिरंजीवीज: अश्वत्थामा, महाबली, व्यास, हनुमान, विभीषण, कृपा एंड परशुराम. चलो पता तो चल गया. Some other individuals who are sometimes additionally included are Markandeya, Kakabhushandi, Jamvant, अगस्त्य एंड नारदा. ए माना जाता है ये, तो मतलब 12 हो गए वैसे, बट 7 है और 12. मेन फेमस तो हनुमान एंड अश्वत्थामा, तो हमें पता है. ऐसे ही जानकारी के लिए, इन केस यू राइट इन एसे समथिंग, सम रेफरेंस देना है तो दे सकते हैं. सो यस, कहाँ गया क्वेश्चन? व्हाट इज रॉन्ग अकॉर्डिंग टू. सो ये 15 मार्कर है ना, तो आपको थोड़ा ज़्यादा लिखना है. हाउ वुड यू इंट्रोड्यूस? 15 मार्कर मीन्स हाउ मेनी वर्ड्स? भूल जाते हैं, इतना सब डिस्कस किया हुआ है. 10 मार्क, 15 मार्क, 20 मार्क, 3 ही आते हैं. 10 मार्कर मीन्स नो, इन दोनों में वर्ड लिमिट नहीं दिया रहता कितने वर्ड्स में लिख हो करके, बट स्पेस लिमिट होता है. बट ऑन एन एवरेज ये 250 वर्ड्स एंड 300 वर्ड्स. इंडक्टिव एंड डिडक्टिव रीजनिंग, वो वेस्टर्न जब आएगा तब देखें, लंबा है वो भी. इज आस्किंग इंडक्टिव डिडक्टिव रीजनिंग में क्या फर्क है. वेस्टर्न में आएगा तब देखेंगे, क्योंकि वो वहां पे थोड़ा लंबा हो जाएगा. ओके, अगर वैसे ही देखना है तो इन द स्टेटमेंट्स दैट वी टॉक्ड अबाउट, फर्स्ट स्टेटमेंट दैट ऑल मेन आर मॉर्टल, that statement itself is result of inductive reasoning. and that as a fact that okay, all men are mortal, and now because this person sitting in front of me is man, now you are concluding that it is mortal is a deductive reasoning. So all men are mortal as a conclusion is a result of inductive reasoning that has happened before, and on the basis of that inductive reasoning you reach to the Abhishek is mortal is deductive reasoning. ठीक है, समझ में आया? No, ulta. Inductive it is individual to general, inductive, and deductive is general to individual. Because all Indians are smart. Abhishek is Indian, so Abhishek is smart. So all Indians are smart. कैसे पता चला? I met so many Abhishek like people in India. मुझे पता चला all Indians are smart. ठीक है ना? Particular to general is inductive and general to particular is deductive. ठीक है? So what is wrong according to Charvaka? Now, for example, now how would you introduce this question? Because this question is like a case study, no? This particular argument about Socrates being immortal, what problem Charvaka is having? What Charvaka, according to Charvaka, what is wrong in this? But how would you introduce? What would you write in introduction? No, then you are directly jumping into the answer. It's not wrong, but I am saying you can still see, like for example, what's wrong according to this following argument. So you can state away Charvaka about the argument. This will be our first given argument or argument. There you can mention about what is wrong, because that is the main question. Introduction means you have to start getting into the topic, not directly jumping into the topic. Why? Introduce, see here you introduce, what would you introduce? And by the way, see, question is not about, you need to understand one thing, the central theme of the question is Charvaka and its epistemology, not this statement. Charvaka epistemology about perception and inference, how Charvaka rejects inference, and rejection of Charvaka's inference heavily depends upon its rejection of Vyapti, if you want to mention Vyapti here, because otherwise Vyapti is anyway going to be major part of the answer. Yes, Charvaka and epistemology and all stuff. क्या? तो epistemological बात ही पूरी question ही epistemology पे है, metaphysics क्यों लिखेंगे? Question क्या है? See, question is not about do Charvaka agree that men are mortal. क्वेश्चन मॉर्टेलिटी के बारे में चारवाक का व्यू नहीं, ये डिडक्टिव लॉजिक की प्रोसेस के बारे में चारवाक का व्यू है. इसमें क्वेश्चन ये भी हो सकता है, ऑल क्रोज आर ब्लैक, दिस इज एक्स इज क्रो, एक्स इज ब्लैक. उसमें कहा मेटाफिजिक्स आ गया? लाइक ऑल इंडियंस आर स्मार्ट, अभिषेक इज एन इंडियन, सो अभिषेक इज स्मार्ट. उसमें मेटाफिजिक्स कहां से आ गया? Inductive and deductive logic. Deductive logic Charvaka are okay with. Inductive logic Charvaka, inductive reasoning, inductive process Charvaka have a problem with. So question is basically what's wrong see, the content of the topic, that is, it is being more, they are talking about mortality, immortality, that's not important here. They can talk about blue and black also, like all cats are dogs, X is a cat, so X is a dog, ये भी एक argument है. हाँ, but all cats are dogs, that's Vyapti. So wrong with the argument is wrong Vyapti. Intro to Charvaka school of philosophy reject the inference. Yes, very good. That's what I was talking about. Since perception is the only Praman, Charvaka rejects Vyapti as the basis. That is also good. Gayatri का और Spike का वही है, ठीक है. फिर Charvaka on the above argument, Charvaka on this argument, whatever you want to call it, and then you mention this is also an example of inductive reasoning which is rejected by Charvaka as they reject universal invariable concomitance between two events. Yes, तो फिर ये इसका मेरे हिसाब से पार्ट वो होगा. And justify your arguments with examples. Now, here justify your argument means this process of Charvaka also need to be criticized. That Charvaka is rejecting Vyapti, Charvaka is rejecting inference. Obviously, you give your justification mean what? Are you in the agreement of this stand of Charvaka? You justify Charvaka, or maybe you can just add justification. But then you have to also write criticism and then write conclusion. Conclusion, as I said, you no need to mention the word. It's not critical, but still you have to write criticism. That's what the rule is. थोड़ा लिख सकते हैं, ये तो साइज ऊपर नीचे हो सकता है. Charvaka on above argument. Question पढ़ो ना. Question क्या है? What's wrong according to Charvaka with the following argument? Charvaka on given argument. ठीक है? और कोई डाउट? हाँ. तो पहले see, you have to talk about how the first is inductive logic. It's a Vyapti universal argument. All men are mortal is a universal conclusion or done through inductive reasoning. Any universal argument according to Charvaka, that is Vyapti, is not sustainable. Then you have to mention why it is not sustainable, because all the Vyapti is not possible, because all the men cannot be perceived being dying. All the Vyaptis are leap in the dark. You cannot perceive all the cases of man dying, not just in the present but also future and past. ये सब notes में argument वही है. Okay, this is also an example of inductive reasoning which is rejected by Charvaka. Okay, ये तो हो गया. ठीक. Here, because specifically they are asking one or two additional point you have to write, that what exactly is wrong that Charvaka considers with respect to following argument. And like for example, Socrates, this also very interesting. Socrates is a man, is what Charvaka will also agree, because Charvaka is perceiving Socrates. So existence of Socrates and Socrates as man has no problem with Charvaka. That also you mentioned. No, see, what's wrong with the follower argument? Only one thing is wrong, and obviously conclusion because of the first premise, but perception process is correct only. Socrates is a man. What is it? What is Hetu and Paksh here? Socrates is man is a statement. All men are mortal is a Vyapti. Socrates is man. whenever there is man, there is mortal. Okay, what is Socrates? ये तो पूरा साध्य and hetu both always get mentioned in Vyapti. Where is Socrates in Vyapti? Yes, Socrates is paksha like hill and mortal is sadhya. यही तो चीजें हैं, समझ में एक बात आ जाए तो फिर यू कैन कनेक्ट एनीथिंग। ये सब भी लिख सकते हैं इफ यू हैव स्पेस। No, that's the thing. Now we have discussed in the foundation class. We had discussed this. So many examples I had asked. Okay, identify hetu in this. याद आ रहा है अभी? सब याद आ रहा है। Because फिर वो इसी के लिए है, for you to understand what hetu, what paksha and what sadhya is. And once you understand that, half of the Indian epistemology is done for you. Inference का कोई confusion रहता ही नहीं है। So all men are mortal. So relationship between man and mortal is what Vyapti is talking about. So man is hetu, mortal is sadhya. Okay? Man is hetu, mortal is sadhya and Socrates is paksha. हाँ साध्य मेजर होता है। हाँ साध्य होता है जो जिसकी मतलब जो साध्य हो जाए आफ्टर द प्रोसेस। ठीक है? रोड, रेन, मड। ओके, ये स्पाइक थॉमस कौन है? आर यू ओल्ड स्टूडेंट? क्योंकि आपका नाम समझ में नहीं आ रहा है। यू सीम टू बी गिविंग फैमिलियर एग्जांपल्स दैट वी डिस्कस इन द क्लास, इसलिए आई डोंट नो, बिकॉज नाम से पता नहीं चल रहा है, बाकी को तो पता चल रहा है। स्पाइक थॉमस आपका ओरिजिनल नाम क्या है? सौम्या, गायत्री, ये तो पता ही है। एनीवे, ठीक है, कंक्लूजन क्या करेंगे? ओके, मुकेश है, तभी मैंने बोला ये क्लास में डिस्कस की हुई चीज है। मुकेश है अपना, हाँ मुकेश लांबा। वेरी गुड। वो तो पहले ही बताना था ना, मुझे कैसे पता चलेगा? कि मुझे लगा स्पाइक इज समवन एल्स। वेरी गुड। नाउ देयर इज अनदर क्वेश्चन, लिखिए। कंक्लूजन वही है चीज, अभी कंक्लूजन लगभग सेम ही कंक्लूजन होता है ना, हर एक का कंक्लूजन अलग होगा ऐसे कोई बात नहीं है, सिमिलर थिंग थोड़ा इधर उधर करके। एंड आप खुद भी जाके लिखोगे ना, यू हैव टू राइट समथिंग गोइंग बैक होम ना, इधर ही सब होगा, कैसे चलेगा? टाइम नहीं होगा ना इतना हमारे पास आज, तो फिर भी वी हैव डन इट स्लोअर क्योंकि पहला ही लेक्चर है। थोड़ा और फास्ट हो जाएगा, धीरे धीरे स्पीड बढ़ेगा, मैं पहले ही बता रहा हूँ। The soul is nothing but conscious body. The soul is nothing but conscious body. What are the reasons for Charvaka in holding this view? ठीक है, so you are part of the troll army. ठीक है, question, the soul is nothing but conscious body, full stop. What are the reasons for Charvaka in holding this view? 2017-10. Now what would you do? What would you do is, first 10 markers, so do this thing. First draw this. and fill this and then tell me. Bharo? Not writing answer, just pointers in that columns. यस, छोटा ही क्वेश्चन है. क्या क्या वो लिखा? इंट्रोडक्शन. Introduction. Okay, but what is like some statement introduction में what would you write? According to Charvak, matter is the only reality. Okay. Very good. So, his view leads to acceptance of materialism and rejection of anything that is non-material, for example, soul. That is also a very good conclusion. But it's better always to start with perception, small statement. Or maybe you can write, because of Charvaka's epistemology of perception as the only praman, material becomes only reality, rejecting all the soul and other transcendental entities. यस, चैतन्य विशिष्ट देह एवं आत्मा, ये आंसर का पहला स्टेटमेंट होना बेटर है रादर देन इंट्रोडक्शन. दैट इज आल्सो देयर इन द नोट्स. चैतन्य विशिष्ट देह एवं आत्मा. सो द देह विशिष्ट इज क्वालिफाइड, सपोर्टेड, फिल्ड. चैतन्य विशिष्ट देह मीन्स द बॉडी qualified with consciousness. Basically, conscious living body is Atma. There is basically nothing metaphysical about so-called Atma. That's the basic purpose. So, you can straight away write Dehatmavad as first subheading. This forms crux of Dehatmavad, which is direct result of Charvaka's metaphysics of materialism and epistemology. Yes, correct. And then, as I mentioned, you can start with like this. Like this, Chaitanya Vishishta Deha Eva Atma. And then start your answer. Or maybe, okay, immediately, generally it's always better to explain this. You maintain that format, it is easy for this thing, that as it is you have to translate. Conscious living body is nothing but soul, or soul is nothing but conscious living body, is the very soul, nothing more, nothing less, like that. Or the soul is nothing but conscious living body. then you write first point, second point, third point in Dehatmavad. Sometimes or most of the time, generally this first point of any subheading looks like repetition of introduction. ऐसा होता है most of the questions में होगा, GS 1 2 3 4 सब जगह होगा, ऐसा लगेगा कि थोड़ा रिपीटेशन हो रहा है, कोई बात नहीं, write it. Like for example, again you will write it something like that only, because of the materialism as the only reality. Charvaka rejects all transcendental entities. Charvaka rejects soul because Charvaka considers body. And by the way, because Charvaka rejects soul, Charvaka has to provide answer to the question of human experience as, or human person for that matter. It's Charvaka's answer to the question of human person. Why? Because Charvaka also knows that being a chair and being a human being फर्क तो है. ये अभी स्ट्रॉसन भी आएगा इसमें वैसे, बट वो इसे लाने की जरूरत नहीं है. आप बोलेंगे ये स्ट्रॉसन कहाँ से, ये बोलोगे सर इतना जम मत करो, सीधा स्ट्रॉसन. But Strawson's person is nothing but the same debate that Charvaka solved through Dehatmavad. Dead body and living body में कुछ तो फर्क करना पड़ा ना चारवाक को. ये तो सामने दिख रहा है भाई, डेड बॉडी एंड परसेप्शन में है. हाउ कैन यू रिजेक्ट इट? उतना पॉजिटिविज्म दे हैव टू एग्री. So that's why they came up with concept of whatever soul it is conscious living body. So beyond body there is no soul. Whatever you are calling soul is this conscious living body. समझ में आ रहा है? जितना आ रहा है. Soul is not beyond and other than body. This whole thing together is called soul. Deha Atmavad. This body and the soul and everything put together is human being. There is no soul separate, body separate. So completely reject the conceptual segregation of soul and body. The body which is consciously in the living condition itself is soul. They are not rejecting the word soul. समझ में आ रहा है? मैं जो बोलता हूं कि मैं कौन हूं, I am fat, I am lean, एग्जाम्पल देते हैं वो. In the books also it is there. So who is fat, who is tall, who is lean? I. Who is this I? Soul. But that soul is body only. That's the argument. ठीक है? हाँ, तो रीजन में वही आएगा ना. परसेप्शन इज द ओनली प्रमाण, मैटर इज द ओनली रियलिटी, रिजेक्शन ऑफ सोल, रिजेक्शन ऑफ एनी अदर एंटिटी, इवन फॉर दैट मैटर रिजेक्शन ऑफ ये हेवन एंड हेल, rebirth. Rejection of rebirth is also very important here, because rebirth नहीं है क्योंकि soul ही नहीं है. Body का तो rebirth नहीं हो सकता, and body itself is whatever soul, actually it is body only. Body dies, everything goes off. वो तो उसका इफेक्ट हो गया ना, रीजन नहीं हो गया. For example, they have to be strictly philosophical academia. Then you can mention. तो I agree, but वही तो प्रॉब्लम होता है. You want to write it, but you will not be able to remember. Just forget it. See, because what you are talking about is enrichment. अगर करेंगे तो मे भी फायदा हो सकता है. ओके, बट नहीं करेंगे तो कोई नुकसान नहीं. बट करने के लिए इतना टाइम वेस्ट नहीं करो कि अदर क्वेश्चन की बेसिक पॉइंट भूल गए टाइम के कारण. नेगेटिव नहीं जाएगा, बट इट हैज टू बी इन द कॉन्टेक्स्ट. सी दैट दिस इज वन रियलाइजेशन and it's important for everyone and all papers. Your answer should never look like dumping ground of a mugger. You might know everything because it is taken negatively in two contexts. One is you are writing that is not asked. So you don't know the context and you don't know how to relate the question. मतलब आपको पूछ रहे कि you know रोटी चाहिए, मतलब आपको पूछ we are asking रोटी है क्या, आप बोलेंगे नहीं डोसा है, आपको पूछा क्या है, और ब्यूरोक्रेट के लिए वो बहुत खतरनाक होता है. दैट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट क्वालिटी ऑफ अ ब्यूरोक्रेट. जो पूछा जाए उसका डिटेल में जवाब देना, साइंटिफिक देना, लॉजिकल देना, फैक्चुअल देना, लेकिन जो पूछा है वही बताना. सेकंड, sometimes the evaluator takes it personally also. Sometimes. How? Now evaluators most of the time they know much more than us, but maybe कुछ एक ऐसा पॉइंटर आपने डाल दिया जो उन्होंने नहीं पढ़ा था, जो सही भी है, but that pointer is not getting properly fitting in the demand of the answer. वो बोलेंगे why this person had to bring somebody that I had to search whether really this person XY professor XYZ. क्यों? There are established books. So generally we discourage. Generally, I'm not saying it is all the way discourage, because see, somebody who has done PhD, somebody who has done extra, obviously they will have more data. And I'll tell you, this becomes a big hurdle also. I'm cautioning in the sense, if you know too much also, it's very difficult to boil down. Because 150 words, I can tell you 150 words is not even an answer. It's introduction to any philosophical answer. If you want to actually talk about real philosophers or academic philosophers. But you are not expected to be. There have been examples of somebody who has cracked UPSC through one anthropology as optional. Next attempt the person has taken geography and cracked UPSC again. And otherwise the person is engineer. And this is a real example I am taking. So what is UPSC expecting? Whatever topic you are taking, take that limiter understanding it thoroughly but broadly. Don't get into unnecessary nitty-gritties. That is exactly what is expected as a bureaucrat also. At least IAS, IPS and all. एकदम छोटी छोटी चीजों पे लगे तो you will not be able to work at all. You have to take decision. Go ahead, decide, go ahead. So understand the nature and the demand of the examination. And this happens with almost all the optional, all the more with philosophy. Because most of the people who take philosophy are the ones who actually love philosophy. और इट्स सब्जेक्ट अच्छा लगता है. ये तो सभी ऑप्शनल के लिए है वैसे, नॉट जस्ट फॉर फिलोसफी. फिलोसफी के लिए थोड़ा मोर है. लाइक समबडी इज टेकिंग लिटरेचर एज ऑप्शनल, इंग्लिश लिटरेचर, उनको बहुत पसंद है वो, बट फिर वो दिक्कत हो जाती है, बिकॉज जो पूछते हैं वो 10 मार्कर में क्या पसंद दिखेंगे, है ना, तो ऐसा होता है. सो यू हैव टू बी वेरी केयरफुल विथ रिस्पेक्ट टू दिस थिंग. देन देहात्मवाद का क्रिटिसिज्म, शंकराचार्य का द होल concept of soul, Jainism का concept of jiva is all direct criticism of, because rejection of jiva is what they are doing by Dehatmavad, and jiva and atma is the core of Jainism philosophy. Because then, like for example, if you reject soul, there is no morality, because there is no law of karma. So if I kill some people and die myself, I am happy. If I am like Hitler, what did Hitler do? And no need to mention Hitler as an example there, I am just telling you an example. So you just kill people and then commit suicide, so law of karma doesn't work. There is soul. Soul is the central to Jainism. That is okay, but consciousness has to be there. No, body depends on the consciousness. That is, on the basis of the quality of your consciousness, you acquire the body. And that depends on what kind of karmas your consciousness is holding. So it's all about the consciousness attaining the body. It's not vice versa. Yes, Dehatmavad, and it looks similar, because there also the soul is not one particular place. Soul is eminent in the body, okay, but not like Dehatmavad. That is the difference. concept of jiva as a light in the room, like how light fills the room. That's how jiva fills the body. That's what Jainism says. But this is not filling. This is very different. This, see, and there is more metaphysical explanation. Charvakas is more practical explanation. Body मर गया, soul मर गया. Can there be soul without body? नहीं. ये इसलिए वो बोलते हैं body is soul, nothing else, as long as it is conscious. ठीक है? Conclusion क्या लिखेंगे? चारवाक का वही conclusion है. But in different format you can write. Charvaka with its sharp criticism of traditional philosophies, came up with the modern and more positivist version of reality, in which non-material things are never accepted. Okay, khatam. And by the way, while writing the conclusion of Charvak, like dogmatism wala thing, you can ready-made the other thing if the question like Dehatmavad kind of or hedonistic kind of question comes. You can take the conclusion in the form of modern world seems to be more following the diktats of Charvaka more than any other spiritualists. Seem to be. Okay, जैसे हमने बोला consumerism, materialism. अगर क्वेश्चन हेडोनिज्म पे है तो जरा ठीक लगेगा, अगर क्वेश्चन एपिस्टेमोलॉजी पे है तो डॉगमेटिज्म वाला रहेगा. ठीक है, इसमें भी देहात्मवाद है, उसमें वही नॉर्मल वाला लिख देंगे तो ज्यादा ठीक है. सी आई एम जस्ट लेटिंग यू नो दैट यू शुड स्टार्ट थिंकिंग. आई एम जस्ट गिविंग यू 2-3 थॉट्स सो दैट आफ्टर गोइंग बैक होम यू हैव 6 more थॉट्स. अदरवाइज कोई पॉइंट नहीं है ना, वो पॉइंट फाउंडेशन में होता है, हर चीज लिख के भी write down and all that, notes and all. यहाँ पे now you have to be fast because कितना just matter of 60 days now, कितने दिन बचे हैं, मतलब you have only 60 days for this examination now. Anyway, any question? आज तो जैनिज्म शुरू ही नहीं होगा, इसका मतलब टाइम हो गया. 10:30 10:45 तक विंडो होता है, 15 minutes you have to. So when is the history of GS Mains class? How can I know? Please talk to the, हमारा जो नंबर्स होते हैं रिसेप्शन पे एक बार कॉल करके पूछ लो, सीधा नीचे नंबर भी तो आ रहे हैं. मुझे नहीं पता बिकॉज वो हिस्ट्री का मुझे नहीं पता कैसे चलेगा. ठीक है, तो इफ यू हैव एनी डाउट प्लीज आस्क, अदरवाइज सी यू टुमारो एट 8:15 AM विद जैनिज्म. थोड़ा स्लो हो गया, पहला लेक्चर था, बट इट्स ओके बिकॉज अभी बहुत सारी चीजें इंट्रोड्यूस हो गई ना, ये आंसर राइटिंग भी, ये भी, तो थोड़ा सा रहता है. आफ्टर द प्रीलियम का कितने महीने हो गए फिलोसॉफी का किताब खोले? जनवरी में खोला होगा, फरवरी में, दिसंबर, वही, उसके बाद तो प्रीलियम्स ही करते हैं, विच इज नेचुरल ऑल्सो. So it's like that's the reason it takes a little time, but it's okay. Tomorrow again it is YouTube live, so I expect all of you to be there tomorrow, same 8:15 AM. ठीक है? So thank you very much. This happens every time. That's why I suggest many people to, when it comes to, see, it is good also because Charvaka is little easier to understand, easier to grasp, and when you come after long break, straight away if you start with Strawson, आप 2-3 बार सो जाओगे. If you start with Heidegger, okay, सो जाओगे. So start with Charvaka, then come to Buddhism, Jainism, धीरे धीरे, then you reach Aurobindo, थोड़ा और complex हो जाता है. But when you actually study revision, it's always better to start with the tough thing, but that is also possible when you have done very freshly some revision like you are doing now. After result, once you start your own revision, start with the topic that you consider tough, and you will be able to start it because abhi kya hai na, you have a full glance of all the topic in one go in 10-15 days, 20 days, so you have that smoothness to go with it. ठीक है, चलिए, थैंक यू.